Welcome back, guys. We're going to get into the Washington football team game against Dallas and what happened, the debacle, and then from starting from the second half, some kind of miracle, and then the miracle fell short. So I'm going to kick it over to Dale to get his thoughts and perceptions, and I'll chime in, and Chris can chime in on what he saw as well.
Chris, you see any of that nonsense last week?
Yeah, I caught some of the highlights, but
yeah. So people have been generally aware of Micah Parsons and the difference he's making with that team, but I think this was really, if you weren't aware before, you're aware now because he's in Defensive Player of the Year discussions now. He's legit. The Cowboys got so lucky he fell to them due to some nonsense about his background and all this stuff. Dude, he's a flat out baller. He's making an impact on that defense. I'm sure Dan Quinn is as well, but when you got a guy like that, like he's gonna mask the rest of the stink that they were going through last season. He's the guy who's leading them to the division crown. Because Dak is, the offense is not getting it done, but he's keeping them in games with the impact he's having. I had some high hopes coming into this game for the Washington football team. I thought that they could, put themselves in the driver's seat for the division, but they fell short. Their offense looked terrible due to Parsons and just letting the Cowboys jump on them early. They were playing catch up the whole game, and they don't have that kind of system. So just they weren't ready. They got shell shocked and have to regroup this week.
It was just frustrating because that offensive line couldn't block anybody that entire game. It's just
Randy Gregory and all them dudes were getting in there.
Yeah, to me, it's just, if you were in preparation for this, you should have known they're getting back their pass rushers, and you knew Michael Parsons is going to be a beast. So you should have game planned around something, at least something. When you go down 28-0, you lost that game. Even though you say, two halves, mentally, it's hard to come back. I don't know. But it also showed one thing: Dallas is not as strong as people think they are. Because if you lost offensively, right? So that means their defense has to keep in them games, which we all knew that defense is going to be stacked. But if you let a team that's just as strong as you come back in that game was over. That game was over. But unfortunately, the Washington football team is not that strong. They never will be until they get certain pieces in place.
QB.
That I don't think it was. But I also think it's just there's certain things around the play calling that was called. I just don't understand certain things because if you're going to pass the ball more often, you're going to get that rush was insane. They were just rushing four people. They're just rushing four people, and you couldn't stop. And then they started bringing the blitz. And Michael Parsons, you can't block. He's a man child. You can't block him. He's a special player, and you can do whatever you want, but you have to factor that into your game plan. He's like, okay, guys, he's going to be disruptive, but let's work around it. Let's see what we can do. And I just don't feel that they could have ran the ball efficiently, in my opinion, but they didn't know how to run it efficiently. I don't know if that makes sense. It's just that I saw the blocking schemes, and it just wasn't to their strength. They were trying to block a little bit more to the kind of like a speed rush, because everybody was just, you can't let the guy go free and just I don't know. I was just so frustrated. I have no words to explain, but I know something was not right with that line. It's just their blocking scheme was horrible, even when it came to the run. And then all of a sudden, the second half, they started running the ball. They started gaining yards. And I also think Dallas let off the gas pedal a little bit. They said that we're up 28-0. And when they started coming back, we have to play now. And that's why the game was close. They could have scored one more touchdown if they wanted to, and that game was over. That game was already over before it started.
Chris, jump in there. What'd you see?
Yeah, I think when it comes to Dallas, their defense is top notch. The offensive line is nothing to sneeze at. Obviously, they got Dak and Zeke. They got the makings of a team who can make a run at an NFC Championship, kind of similar to back in the 90s. People underrate their defense in the 90s, but they had a stout all across the board defense. So they're kind of mimicking that team. Those teams, I think that they still probably are one piece away from an actual Super Bowl, but they got a chance to really do something and make some noise in the playoffs because of their defense. Not only Michael Parsons, they got guys all across the board that are making plays on that defense. Yeah, for sure. And so, you know, I saw an article today about Parsons actually that was comparing him to Lawrence Taylor and become the first rookie to win Defensive Player of the Year. And that's a real possibility. I mean, he's making impacts on games. I know we've talked about that in the past. And his stats aren't just stats; they're really impact driven, and he's energizing that entire defense. You know, kind of like a Ray Lewis or a Lawrence Taylor type of guy, and he's giving him some identity. So I think that the Cowboys' future is looking bright if they continue to draft well and continue to man mentality. The Redskins, Washington football team, they got, I heard one of you guys mentioned quarterback just now. You know, I get it. Their guys are holding it down as, you know, formidable quarterbacks, but they're not an identity when it comes to giving that offense any type of, you know, threat, making them a threat to other teams. When you go and play Washington, you know it's going to be a close game because those guys are going to just try to play mistake-free football. Nobody's out there trying to actually win you a game, and that your teammates know that. Like, you know, and one of the things I used to love about watching when I watched Michael Vick play, not only in college but in the pros, is every time he would break back when people used to actually huddle. When they would break the huddle and walk up to the line of scrimmage, you could just tell his teammates just knew they were going to win. Like they knew they were going to execute and make plays. You could just see the swagger that they walked with. And it gave everybody the confidence that each game they could win that game. The Washington football team doesn't have that identity yet. They don't have a quarterback. And until they get it, they're not going to be in contention to do really anything. 6-6 is great. I mean, Ron Rivera should be given high praise for holding it together and not making it a complete debacle. But they got to get that guy at quarterback, and also they got to get an established running game going. That running back by committee is really not helping them. It hasn't for the past, 5 or 6 years. They got to have an identity at running back as well, and they don't have that yet.
Yeah, but I was saying on the previous last week before the game that they had to use the same recipe that they had been on this winning streak with, hopefully keeping the game close with the run game, not giving up any big plays. And then unfortunately, they just, Dallas went out there and scored early. And from there, they were playing catch up. They're not that kind of team where they can, they somehow came back in the game. I think Dallas helped them out. Dak threw a pick at some point in the second half. Dallas helped them out a bit. And then Antonio Gibson fumbled, and then the fumble at the end of the game. So they were right there. But the recipe to win that game was what they had been doing, keeping it close and then making a play at the end. Unfortunately, it just got away from them. But this week against the Eagles, even though a bunch of guys might be out, they got to try to play that same game plan that had been working for them, keep the game close. Because Heineke's not a guy. We bring up arm strength. I don't think arm strength is what holds him back. I think it's just he still has that I want to try to make a play in him instead of just running the system. And that's how the game got away from them this week. If you just go out there and run the ball, keep it close. I don't care if you're not turning the drives into scorers, just drive, control the clock, keep it close, and then in the end they can pull it out because the Eagles aren't going to go out there and drop 40 on you. Not with what they run. So keep the game close and pull it out in the end.
Is Hurts playing on Tuesday now?
They haven't said yet. I expect him to be out there though.
Yeah, that game. I mean, against the Cowboys. I mean, like as we stated, like if they just ran the ball efficiently, I think without J.D. McKissic, I think that kind of hurt them too.
That hurt.
I mean, that did hurt them because he's a scat back from the back, and then you have to cover him. And so Micah Parsons could have covered him if they were trying to play a different scheme.
And see, they were trying to block Parsons with running backs, like on those blitzes. He ate that up like it was. I mean, what are you doing? You don't know this dude is the best defensive player, at least in the division, or maybe in the league. You know, try to block him on a running back, like he was running circles around them.
He took I think he took what he blew up one of the linemen. I don't know what he just did a straight bull rush.
One of the guards.
Yeah, it was one of the guards. I think he just went. It wasn't even. It was just like he just picked him up and drove him back. And I'm like, I haven't seen a bull rush like that in a long time. Like I remember when John Randall used to do it back in Minnesota. That's the kind of thing that kind of reminded me of. He just took him and then just drove him.
I don't know if y'all watch Hard Knocks. He was popping at Hard Knocks like his personality is just like he's so infectious. Like when you have that kind of attitude on the
Mhm.
team, on the defense, that's gonna lift everybody. If you're such a positive kid and
Oh, yeah.
high energy, like he's the kind of dude you would love to play with, not want to play against.
How far did he fall to Dallas the past draft?
I think he was around number 10. Let me see.
Because
Yeah.
the reason why I'm asking is like the Washington football team had a top.
He was number 11.
He's number 11, right? So, and Ron Rivera said they had him graded high, and they would have picked him. And I'm thinking, well, you picked Jermaine Davis, so did you make a
Jamin
mistake?
Davis was
I think it was in the second round or the. I think
no, he was first round, like 15th pick or something like that.
15th pick. Okay. Oh, right, because they won the East last year. That's why they had
19th pick, so they didn't really have a shot at Parsons. They could have traded up, but
they could have traded up or
Jamin Davis is coming around too.
Mhm.
He's gonna be good.
I like him too. I mean, he's fast. He knows where. I mean, it's just like if you had a shot of picking Parsons, I mean, what would you have given up to get him? Because I mean,
not knowing what you know now. I mean, of
not
course.
what you know now, but the thing is with me, like people have rumors everywhere, like in the draft, just to ruin the player's stock so they can get or
Yeah,
kind of
that
ruin.
happens.
And that's what frustrates me the most when people talk like that nonsense is because this is someone's livelihood you're messing with, and it's frustrating because and some people lose out, like they lose a lot of money, and you can become like the top, like the first round draft pick, top 10 can go to the third or fourth round or fifth round because somebody doesn't like what you said or they just don't want you to get picked. And it's just like and when those things start creeping into GM's heads and people who are going to make those picks, it's just that it's the what if doubt, and that's how what if
that kind of happened with Randy Moss back in the day too. People put stuff out there, and
exactly. And that's why I was like, maybe you should just do your own research and like if you feel that this guy is good, see if you can get him. If you can't, then move on to the next player on your draft board. I could be completely wrong in my thinking, but I think I just have a soft spot for people who want to make like, because they work their whole life to get to this point and you're ruining someone's dream. But maybe I'm just, full of hot air and I don't know what I'm talking about, but I just, that's how I feel. I'm kind of a little bit passionate when that stuff happens because I hate rumors. I hate people kind of like dogging people just because of some stupid thing that they did when they were in college. I mean, everybody does stupid things. I mean, as long as you don't do anything to harm anybody, like who cares? Like at the end of the day, who cares?
Yeah, we pick sometimes whose stuff we want to glorify and whose stuff we want to get on them for. I mean, you got Peyton Manning had issues coming out.
Yep.
Got
nobody talks about it.
Joe Mixon for the Bengals still got drafted. So we, sometimes I'm not gonna worry about that. It's about winning those games, and unless you're doing something, breaking the law and stuff like that.
Yep.
But you talk about the draft and guys who could have had Michael Parsons. I think that if you want to change the identity, now look at the Detroit Lions picking at number 7. Like they got Penei Sewell. But really, if you look at it, why would you get an offensive lineman to try to build your program when you have nothing else on your roster? It really doesn't matter like who you blocking for. You know what I'm saying? So why would you start out with an offensive lineman? That's just like they could have established an identity on defense by getting a guy like Michael Parsons. That, like to the naked eye, that would at least show the fan base you're actually trying to do something. But have we heard Penei Sewell's name all season, like mentioned? So, but that's not really the move I would make there. And when you also look at it, the Carolina Panthers went defense. They took a corner. We have probably, he's doing okay, but I haven't really heard his name much. When you're talking about trying to build around Sam Darnold and make his life a little easier, you probably want to get a guy who's a quarterback of a defense like a Michael Parsons. But yeah, stuff like that I look at more. These GMs are out here making a lot of, questionable moves. And then you got to look at also the Chicago Bears. They've always been known for their defense. And they right now are quarterbacking without Justin Fields to most of the season. They've been without Justin Fields trying to develop him. They could be benefiting from Michael Parsons on defense.
Oh, I would like to say, because I became a Bears fan over the summer because they hired their first Indian American defensive coordinator. I was just ecstatic.
What's his name? Come on, man. You just hyped him up. You don't even know his name.
I followed him on Twitter. I think his name is Sean Desai. Because all I care about is Indian American. Because when I played, it's like I want that was my step to go to the NFL, is to play in the NFL, to be the first. Because you don't see yourselves, right? You see everybody else, and you pick your players. And I've had mine. And I'm like, well, when you're growing up, you want to see individuals who kind of represent your culture, your background, and you want to say, okay, I can relate. But at the same time, it's just like, a lot of my friends are like, oh yeah, he's Indian. I'm like, you don't understand the significance that this has. I actually cried. I almost cried because I told my wife, I'm just like, you don't understand like the significance this has on me personally, is because when you play the game you love and you see somebody who's like maybe not played in the pros, but he's coaching, you can say, okay, I can see him, he's coaching, I can get to myself to that level some way, shape, or with hard work and dedication.
Chris,
and I'm like, this speaks volumes.
Did you play?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Oh yeah. Did you play against Champ Kelly?
No, I didn't play. I didn't play against him, but I think he owned one of the arena football teams that I played for.
So he's older.
He was in the front office.
Around your age.
Yeah, he's older than me by a few years.
The reason I brought up Champ Kelly is he's like the notch below the GM of the Bears, and he probably had some hand in that hire. So that's why I brought his name up. And I'm hoping that your guy is not one and done, because they might clean house after this season with the Bears.
They're going to clean house. I guarantee they're going to clean house.
I hope not. I like Champ as a dude. He's a good dude. So I hope they give them dudes one more year. You can get Nagy out of there for all I care, but you know, I hope your guy sticks around. And
yeah, I mean the defense is not
the defense. Yeah.
The
defense is not the problem.
It's just their offensive schemes is horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, they really have nobody.
Nagy is not the guy. So
no, and that's what I don't understand.
Put your step in there.
You fire Urban Meyer, who's a piece of like, I don't want to even use the word. He's not a very good human being. To Nagy, who's almost just as bad, is not he's just a horrible coach. If he's bad, it's like if you have a bad CEO, you take care, you have a vote, you vote him out. like that's, I mean,
doesn't really make sense coming from Andy Reid's system. I mean, all you got to do is come out there and run that same kind of scheme, and it doesn't seem like he really has a scheme. It's like I don't know what they're doing.
That, and I also feel that not everybody can understand the scheme either, right? He probably was one of those guys in the back that just took the notes and didn't really apply the notes.
I
don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I look at their Bears and I'm like, I thought the Bears would be good, at least decent this year with Justin Fields at quarterback. I think he could, like, I hated him at Ohio State because I just despised him. I mean, they crushed. I mean, every time we play, they crushed him. So I was like, screw him. I hate him. But you know, it's like even with Tom Brady. I mean, I hate him as the New England Patriot quarterback for all these years, and he went to Tampa Bay. I'm like, still hate him. But
speaking of New England, you got Jimmy G out there in San Francisco. Do you think? I mean, he's starting to come on like big time here lately, and they're putting some wins together. Do you think Jimmy G can take this run heavy team? Do you think he has what it takes to be that manager that they need to go on a playoff run?
Yes, that's perfect for Jimmy G. That's the type of offense. Yeah. He's been criticized for being a game manager, but at the end of the day, Jimmy G, he can execute an offense. I mean, with the best of them, it just looks crisp. He can drop back. He can put the ball on the money whenever he needs to. He breaks the huddle, like I said about Vic. He breaks the huddle with confidence, brings the team up to the line, makes the checks, does everything you want to do. Every now and then, I remember back when he played in the Super Bowl, he made a couple of questionable plays in that game. But overall, I think that might have been more about coaching. As I think back to when Matt Stafford just beat the Arizona Cardinals, that was about coaching.
Bring that up too. Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to that Super Bowl, I think that was more about coaching. Jimmy G has been one of the most consistent and most solid quarterbacks over the last, 5 or 6 years. He's right up there, top 10 as far as most consistent quarterbacks. And you want that, especially when you're starting a program. Like right now, if you want me to throw something out there, if I had to choose between the next 5 years, if I'm starting a program and I only could choose from Jimmy G and a guy like with Trevor Lawrence down in Jacksonville, I would choose Jimmy G for the fact that I know what I'm getting out of him. And he's been there, and he wins. Like, I don't know how when he took over for San Francisco, when he first got there, he went on a hot streak.
I think it was 6 straight games, something like that.
But yeah, before he got hurt, I'm rolling. And he energizes, his teammates obviously believe in him. So I would stick with him. I think he's doing great. And, I think he'll continue to do great. They'll do some stuff this year if they get their act together.
Yeah, when he's healthy, his record is ridiculous. And that speaks for itself. If you're winning games, you can't just promote a guy like Trey Lance unproven until Jimmy G has shown he's hard to count on from an injury standpoint. But like I said, when he's healthy, the results speak for themselves. You got to stick with that and let that play out. You're under no rush to get a guy like Trey Lance out there. He's under a rookie deal for, at least 5 years with the option for the 5th year. So let that play out just like Green Bay did. See where he can take this team.
And if you look at it, and look at who outside of Lamar Jackson, has really won that many games and been that consistent as a starter since they've come into the league. So if you're gonna praise Lamar Jackson, you got to give some love to Jimmy G.
Yep, absolutely. People,
if I could, okay, because Matt Nagy, I don't know what you guys are seeing, but Matt Nagy has been winning games with subpar talent at the quarterback position for a while now. And he's not getting nearly as much love as a guy like Sean McVay, who, is the quarterback whisperer. And now we give him this prize possession in Matt Stafford. It's like he had to put up with Jared Goff all of those years. Well, if you look at Matt Nagy, okay, and the quarterbacks he's had these last years, Andy Dalton, what's the guy's name from before? Trubisky.
I like Trubisky.
Yeah, Trubisky was fine.
I like Trubisky too, but I'm just saying, if you look at everything else, what they say about him, he wasn't great. And you look at, the situation he has right now, it hasn't been great. But for whatever reason, you never talk about the Bears in those first round, the first pick in the draft and all that type of stuff, and 1-13 and these types of records. He's been middle of the pack, similar to if Teddy
made the playoffs. Did they make the playoffs last year or the year before?
I think it was the year before. And then they went on a little run about 3 or 4 years ago and almost did some stuff in the playoffs. So I think that you got to give Matt Nagy a little slack, cut him a little slack. When they get themselves a real quarterback in there, I think they can really make some noise in the playoffs.
So you think Justin Fields is not their quarterback of the future?
I never thought Justin Fields was. I thought I just don't see. I think he's got to develop his mechanics. He's a great. I think he'll have a career. He could have the potential to have a career like Cam Newton. But if you really look at Cam Newton could have continued to get better after his Super Bowl run had he improved on some of his mechanics and things like that. You can only have so high of a ceiling. I love Lamar Jackson. He's the same way. Like, he'll have a great career. Same like Michael Vick and those types of guys. But if they don't get better mechanically, it's going to be, you're going to be out of the league before you want to be out of it. So.
True.
I don't like Ohio State quarterbacks in general. And I didn't like Justin Fields because he like when they're getting, he just doesn't look like he cares. And Jay Cutler was that way too. That just that I don't care attitude. But Jay Cutler had talent that could, mask that kind of attitude, and Justin Fields ain't there yet. And that's
believes his own hype. That's what I don't like about him.
Yeah.
Look at him talk, he doesn't talk much. He's not a flamboyant guy, but when he does, you can tell he's feeling himself. And I don't know where he's getting that from. I don't know. I don't see it.
I just got the 10-minute warning from Zoom again. So the 40 minutes just flew by on this thing. Do y'all get those? Does that pop up on you? Because David said it popped up when he was on once.
I need to pop up on ours.
But so Washington down the stretch to make the playoffs here. They got the Eagles coming up, Cowboys again, Eagles again, and Giants.
They have to win out to win.
You think that? Yeah, because I said they probably had one leeway for one loss, which happened.
I don't think. I mean, that one loss was against Dallas at here, and they, if they want to make the playoffs, they have to win. They're not making the playoffs. I mean, if they lose to any team right now, they're not making the playoffs, and they can't afford to have a mistake-ridden game. They have to play a perfect game, and that's very difficult to do because with all this COVID things popping up and things like when your star players are out, it's very difficult to win with backups to the backups.
I'm predicting 3-1 down the stretch, and I'm predicting the playoffs. That's my
okay. I like your optimism. I mean, I very do like your optimism. I have to, since my blood pressure has been risen for the last couple of games, and my doctor has told me to take my meds regularly after the game, I'm going to go 2-2, and they're going to miss out on the playoffs. Get a good draft pick. Hopefully they can get a good draft pick and settle in. The problem is the quarterback situation in the draft is not good, but hopefully the free agent market may settle in. But if nothing is in free agency, I would still, I mean, you still have Fitzpatrick, give or take. I mean,
I think he's on a 1-year deal.
He is, but I think I'll re-sign him again because he hasn't. You don't think so? No. I mean, you're gonna go with Heineke? I mean, I love Heineke, but I don't think that, I mean, he brings a different it factor, but I don't think it's the it factor. Like,
there should be some guys on the market this coming off season, and when you got Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson in the market, that's going to free up other dudes for Washington to get a kick at. So,
but let's be real, deal. They're not going to get those two
guys. No. I'm not saying they will.
Oh.
I'm just saying when you got competition for those two guys being hot, that'll leave some guys falling down to Washington that they probably wouldn't otherwise have an opportunity to get. So, as far as a veteran bridge, somebody will be out there for that. But then you got to draft a quarterback this year.
In this draft or the next? Because the
quarterback
draft.
I know what they're saying about this being a weak draft, but there's always somebody.
That's true, but would you really want to waste it on somebody that you don't think is going to be, or you want to get like a player that's going to be a stud?
See, I think everywhere else they don't. Outside of quarterback, what's their next biggest hole?
Linemen. They need to have like
their line is playing well this season.
Nah, bro. I'm sorry. I would say this: they played well up to the Dallas game. That Dallas game showed me a lot that kind of made me think.
To me, that was more scheme than line.
And the quarterback decision wasn't, that it was a third down, like right at the end of the game when they had a chance. They were driving, and then quarterback held the ball too long, trying to make a decision, and he got sacked. Now, it looked like all the defense was getting after it and blitzing and doing all that, and the line wasn't blocking. But that was totally on the quarterback right there. So if you get a quarterback who just, like we talked about Jimmy G, like a guy who just can make decisions, get the ball, and whether he's throwing it away or throwing it to a target, he won't give up those plays like that, fumbles, that keep your momentum going as an offense.
I mean, as you said, the later rounds don't mean guaranteed stuff. So if they get somebody in the later rounds from like let's say even like a D2 school, I mean, at the end of the day, as Chris was pointed out, if they can just get those kind of things, like if they're just like, the mechanics of a game manager, I mean, that's in this system per se. I mean, if they change the system, that's a different story. But I mean, going back 2-2, that's it. They're not making the playoffs. I'm being the pessimistic Skins fan or the Washington football fan that's inside of me, but the realistic says 2-2.
Chris, what's your prediction out of the next 4? Eagles, Cowboys, Eagles, Giants.
I mean, I think they can go. I think they'll probably go 2-2. I think if you had to choose between the Eagles and the Washington making the playoffs, who would you pick?
Ooh,
Washington.
I'll pick Washington.
Yeah.
More as a team. I mean, I would tend to agree with you just because Eagles quarterback situation is not looking consistent. I like Gardner Minshew. He might
the stash.
He might be a guy who some people try to go after, and whatever. But he's better than some guys who are starting right now. I can tell you that.
Now, that's a great name that you brought up, is Gardner Minshew, because I liked him in Jacksonville. He got a raw end of that deal, even though with Trevor Lawrence thing, I like how he played. And I mean, he's, as you said, I think he can game manage a game really well. And I think he does things that people don't give him credit for. So
I think is that when Nick Foles came down and they were expecting Nick Foles to do great things, and then I think he got hurt. Gardner Minshew that was his year right there. He was supposed to come in and do something, and he didn't. And so I think from that point on, I think people jumped off the Gardner Minshew bandwagon. So he had a great opportunity to solidify.
He did.
He didn't take advantage of it. So, but I think he's still he's better than me. He's like a Derek Carr type of guy, where Derek Carr should be a backup. Gardner Minshew should be a backup. Like a lot of guys, these are quality. When you think of the guys in the 90s, the Jeff Harstellers, the Frank Reich, they're those type of guys. They're not supposed to be starters. So we're judging these guys from a standpoint of being a starter. So we're being a little too harsh on them. They're the backups I would want. Like I would draft that guy in the 4th, 5th round to be my backup, and I pay him to keep him. I pay him a couple $1 million to keep a guy like that on my roster as a backup.
Well said. That's actually a very good point, because we're putting them in a caliber of like the Rodgers, the Bradys, and the even who's the quarterback for the Cardinals?
Murray.
Murray. Yes, you're putting him in that upper echelon where they don't really belong. That's a good point. That's a very good point.
With the 2-minute warning coming up here, I want to wish my niece Grace happy birthday, and wish her good luck in her game today. What time is the game?
Well, she's starting her 2nd game now.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna head on over there and catch the 3rd one. They got 3 of them. She played one at 9 and one at 11. She'll play another one at 1.
Good deal.
So, yeah, she's gonna be expecting some presents when I get there. So I guess I'll.
Yeah, I sent her a gaming headset. That was on her list of things she wanted. So hopefully she likes that. I should be there today.
For sure, appreciate it.
Yeah, tell her we're all thinking about her and wishing her luck.
Yeah, happy birthday to her as well, and good luck in the games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'll probably, if she's not busy later, we'll FaceTime her so she can say hey to Xander. We can wish her happy birthday.
Oh, okay, yeah, she would like that.
Good deal.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thanks. You're doing a great job. And Dale, I just want to tell you with this podcast, I think it's great. You guys both, I think you guys are doing a great job. This is one of the better podcasts I've been on. People ask me to come on podcasts.
Wow.
Wow, that's a huge compliment, man.
We'll have to send you a hat.
Yeah, we have to send you a hat.
I rock it around here in these St. Louis parts. But yeah, I think people ask me to be on. I talk a lot of trash on social media. People want me to be on their podcast, but I tend to say no because it's kind of, I don't want the pressure of trying to do too much on the podcast to make it relevant. But you guys got to talk about stuff. You got good passion, and it feels natural, and it comes off as that way. So I appreciate it, and I think y'all are doing good stuff.
No, man, we appreciate for you taking the time to come on our we just started this a couple of months ago. We're just like, hey, let's see where this takes us, and we look forward to having you and anybody else who wants to join us, because you taking time out of your day, and that's much more appreciative. And
yeah, that stuff is good to hear, because we hadn't gotten any feedback whatsoever. We just get on and do it, and then that's encouraging and good to hear. That drives us to keep on going.
Yeah, man. Those words really mean a lot. So thank you.
You need to get one going, because when you sound like you know what you're talking about all the time. So
yeah, dude.
Like you said, that stuff you post, you could easily have a show about all that stuff.
Yeah, I just like talking trash. I've been saving it up for so many years. I just step out.
Yep.
Good. Yeah, you guys keep it up, man. I'll definitely, try to get back on here and keep it up. I'm gonna be looking and keeping an eye out and praying for you guys to continue success with it.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Appreciate it.